Well, it's the last classic review of the year, and we are fast approaching the Christmas day, if you can believe it. Honestly, one of my favorite times of the year. This whole season is one of my favorite times of the year, and mainly it's a lot of the music that I get to listen to that I just can't help but love. And so this week, we are talking about one of the quintessential Christmas listens. It's, I do not know too many people that either don't know about this album or weren't raised on this album. So, yeah, I think it's time to dive into it.
And then a sound filled the night in the cold winter air, and in the midst of his flight.
Christmas Eve and Other Stories by the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So if you've been like a fan of mine, if you've been watching my videos for a while now, you know that I love Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Back in, I want to say 2019, maybe 2020? No, I think it was 2019. I did a full worst to best of their whole discography. So if you want more, if you want to know my quick and dirty takes on a lot of their albums, check that out. I'll leave the link up here, right up here, dingy, 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 to go and check that out. But yeah, I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive into the one that put them on the map, the one that started it all, the 1996 album of Christmas Eve and Other Stories. So this one kind of came about back in 1996 by producer, composer, and lyricist Paul O'Neill, who, with John, Olivia, and Al Petrelli, I think is how you pronounce it, the three of them both from Savatage, came together with keyboardist and co-producer Robert Kenkel to form the core creative team of this album and this band. And I mean, these guys conglomerate a whole bunch of musicians here and there, studio musicians, and brought them all together. And not only is it the album that solidified and put them on the map, it's the concerts. I mean, if any of you have had the chance to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra, you walk away saying that was one of the craziest shows I've ever seen. The pyrotechnics, the laser shows, the over-the-top arena rock that they put out with it. Holy jeez, like my man, my dad and I would go every year to see how they were going to up the ante, because each time they were going to up the ante. One of the last times we saw them, they had a full massive Tesla coil playing like in the Hall of the Mountain King. What is Trans-Siberian Orchestra? I mean, I've kind of told you a little bit about the bare bones. A lot of it came out of the ashes of Savatage, this very late in the game arena hair metal. This was 2000. I keep wanting to say 2000. This was 1996, so grunge was really at the forefront. Nu metal was just around the corner. There really wasn't a place for this style of rock in the mainstream. So Savatage, being of that era, being of the hair, glam, and arena metal, they weren't really making it all that big because the world had kind of moved on. So one of the main places that this style of rock and this style of presentation hadn't really made the jump into was Christmas music. And I mean, Christmas music never goes out of style. Half of the Beatles have very well-known Christmas tracks. Most of the time, artists and bands will put out a Christmas album just to fulfill a contractual obligation. But these guys basically made their home in Christmas. Yeah, I still friggin' love this album. Part of it is the concept, before I even touch the concept, because I do want to talk about it a little bit, I love the blending of this over-the-top arena rock, over-the-top hair metal, with instrumental interludes tying together this whole concept album with these very traditional Christmas tracks. You have very recognizable motifs in this. You have very recognizable Christmas carols strung throughout the entire album, but you also have a number of very beautiful and very catchy original pieces as well. And the blending between the two goes to such an extent where, take for instance the track Good King Joy, which, the first 3 minutes is a very recognizable, very singable, very traditional Christmas carol that goes into this much more bluesy, jazzy kind of singer blues bar jam aspect of it that transitions into this original piece of music. And I also just love how much instrumentals are found on here and putting their own little spin on it as well. You know, you have a very quick The Nutcracker Suite instrumental that goes into A Mad Russian's Christmas. That was actually the first track that I heard from them back in high school. My buddy and I were scourging the interwebs to try to find some new Christmas songs, and we happened upon A Mad Russian's Christmas, and that was the only track that we heard from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra until Wizards in Winter came and took the world by storm with one of the first internet viral videos. But I also love that like deep, intense like carryover that they brought with Savatage. Like, look no further than Christmas Eve Savarjo 1224 instrumental. I mean, that is a quintessential Savatage sound that they have inflected in here. It's dark, it's menacing, it's got that metal oomph that we want, with the very traditional sounds of silver bells, like da 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 da. But man, it's those heartfelt moments on this album that I cannot get over. The Old City Bar, talking about, you know, this young woman who just needs to get home and couldn't get home, and like the spirit of Christmas came over and a miracle happens. And this Christmas Day being the follow-up of that, where it's the reuniting of individuals, and it is like the quintessential messaging of Christmas. You know, it's the coming together of family, whether it be through blood or found family, spending time with those that you love, and sharing in joy and sharing in giving. And that really is solidified in the overall concept of this album that I've kind of been circling around, but I want to actually land the plane onto, which is how this album opens up. Starts off with An Angel Came Down, and it's all about, you know, an angel comes down to earth to see how the world has progressed in the 2,000 years since the birth of Christ, and bring back to the Father and Christ, kind of like the messaging of the birth of Christ, and like what humanity has done with that, and that is where you get like a lot of the heartfelt songs like "Oh Come All Ye Faithful" and "A Star to Follow," with the first snow, and it's like wrapping in like the Christmas time. But you also get some of the less than stellar things like the Christmas Eve Sarajevo. One of these days I'll get it. Sarajevo. I don't know if that's a soft or hard J. With some of the not so great things that we have done. And taking all these aspects and all these pieces and presenting it back to the Lord when the angel returns. And you get that with An Angel Returned, basically saying, look at how they have chosen to honor the birth of Christ. This is how they are folding in their traditions. This is how they are continuing to celebrate and continue that idea of it. And I really love that they have all these little vignettes within Christmas Eve and other stories of what we do at Christmas. And I love that framing device within this album because it provides the whole gamut of Christmas songs and Christmas interludes. And it ends on, as I mentioned before, it ends with This Christmas Day, which is one of my absolute favorite tracks from Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I just love the power. I love that get up and go kind of aspect. It's everything that I love from the band, kind of wrapped up perfectly into this one song. So yeah, and it's a formula that works so well. They essentially did it 2 more times, without too many people noticing, or at least not noticing all that much. Because it followed through with the Christmas Attic, which is, this little girl that finds this magical attic and all the stories from different and past Christmases, and as well as the Lost Christmas Eve, which is, again, more stories happening around Christmas and all those really fun aspects of it. So yeah, this was a great way for the band to start off, and it really set the stage for what they would do in the future. And I mean, it's so good that they still perform this album in its entirety when they go and tour. Usually they have 2 acts, the first act being Christmas Eve and Other Stories, and then the second act being, a smattering of their other tracks from The Lost Christmas, The Christmas Attic, and then Night's Castle and Beethoven's Last Night. Yeah, I love this one. This is a staple of my Christmas diving in. This is a staple of my Christmas listening. The moment that like November 12th rolls around, this album gets its rotations within my listening experience. And The same thing happened this year. So yeah, it's an absolute staple. It's an absolute must. If you haven't heard it by now, you got to go out and listen to it. And yeah, it really set the stage for what it means to have a modern Christmas rock album. Because I don't think there's been one as good as this one. So yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it. So what do you guys think about this album? How does it stack up to their other 2 Christmas albums? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Whatever you thought, please let me know by commenting down below. And I think that's all I've got for you guys today. Yeah, I think that's all I got. So thank you all so much for watching. I guess I should say happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I recorded my reaction video tomorrow well in the past. So yeah, this is kind of like my final video of the year before I get into my lists. Yeah, next week, Monday is going to be my top 20 albums. Wednesday is going to be my surprises and disappointments. And then on Friday, it's my Prague Awards. So yeah, get ready for those. I'm pretty excited for you guys to see those. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. So that's it for me. That's enough of me yammering on. I'm going to let you get back to your day. But thank you all so much for stopping by and watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.